Are we filming? Yes, we are. So, welcome to another podcast. The podcast episode will be on the screen there. I'm always experimenting with particularly with the podcast, as you know. And last week, for those of you that are just listening, I'm holding up a very old Filofax Gloucester. And last week, or the last time I did a podcast, I basically printed off all the notes, and then I referred to these are comments that viewers have sent in, and it works reasonably well. But it's I was a little bit concerned about the resources, ink and paper. So today, even though this is a podcast about paper-based productivity, there's an element of digital in here because I'm going to refer to comments on my phone, and we're gonna try that. We're gonna try that. If it doesn't work, I'll do something else. But let's just start with some of these comments, and then towards the end of the podcast, I've got one or two announcements, and let's crack on. Okay, so the first one is, as you can see on the screen, the video is, what have I done to my Filofax Portland? Okay, so the viewer says, I do love a Filofax, but given you like to keep this in your pocket, I wonder if you've ever considered a passport-sized traveller's notebook. It has flexibility, can carry a pen with ease. I actually make my own pen loops from fabric and attach them to an insert, so as is much less bulky, interesting, and can be a very slim profile. I tend to use small notebooks for essentials and quick notes to transfer into a larger planner later, which is exactly what I do. I'm wondering how much you use your mini, as they don't give much room for writing, especially with the rings. That is very, very true. And the answer to your question is yes, I have used a traveller's style notebook, passport size. I've got two of them. They're like that leather, but cheaper than the sort of Midori type cover. At the moment, though, this is interesting. I decided to dispense with the cover, the leather cover, and just have the A6 notes, paper sheets, if you like, strung together using treasury tags. And then the advantage of that is that you can fold it in half to make A7. So although the A6 will fit in my back pocket, I tend to use my front pockets for security to carry notes. So I typically will carry a Filofax Mini Executive or a Guildford Mini Extra Slim because they're more or less A7. And I also have been using this A6 format with the treasury tags to fold over so that I make A7. In fact, you can even fold it over to make A8 if you want to, or roll it up. So very, very versatile. And although there's no cover, I find that the notes are dispensed with and removed before the paper wears out. So in actual fact, that's actually travelling really, really light, very minimalist. Okay. This is a video. This is a comment about my Filofax Ranger video. And as some of you will know, excuse me, as some of you will know, I bought this Filofax Ranger many, many, many months ago to review, with a view to review it and then sell it. And I didn't do either of those things. But then I noticed that Filofax Rangers on eBay were going for good money. So I thought maybe this is the time to capitalise on that. I am, after all, a Filofax dealer. And the time was right to sell. So I thought I would quickly review it, which I did, and then sell it. And I was quite surprised to find that it sold within 90 minutes of listing. Incredible. I was very surprised at that. Okay, so this viewer says, the Ranger looks like one of these stereotypical filofaxes for those who love to stash everything and anything in a ring binder, including money and cards. Many of those owners love it stuffed and puffy. They can't stop fondling the ring binder at every occasion until it gets lost or stolen. Well, I don't know about the fondling the ring binder. That's not something, not a consideration to which I subscribe. But that's an interesting comment, I suppose. But the main thing is having everything all in one place and then taking it out, as it were, on the road, as it were. There is a risk, isn't there, if you have it stolen? My personal advice is, if you are taking something out, then keep them separately. At least keep your keys separate to your wallet or purse, separate to your Filofax. Although you still have to be careful because, as many criminals know, there is a possibility that someone who has a Filofax or a notebook or some other paper-based storage medium on their person, they may have written bank codes in that, and so your Filofax is a target. Whether you've thought about that or not, you are a target. But I did get into a conversation with someone that didn't. I don't think they really appreciated just how dangerous it's becoming. But it's not really something I want to dwell on because it's just one of those things. If I get any further comments about how this is that maybe I'm over exaggerating, I will probably ignore them, because at the end of the day, I have my opinion, others have theirs, and I'm not going to be persuaded. So I wouldn't want them to impose their thoughts on me, and I certainly am not going to impose their thoughts on them. So as far as that is concerned, it's just the way it is, I think. Next video. Let me just see. Okay, so another one about the Filofax Ranger. This viewer says, I saw a Land Rover version with the other pockets in canvas once and the company logo on it. Looks very outdoorsy. Never saw any marketing from Filofax, but I'm surprised to hear it is mostly targeted at women. Nowadays, yes, but in the 90s too. As many of you know, Filofax have occasionally outsourced the marketing, and there have been some fairly prominent instances where the Filofax brand was Filofaxes were through an outside agency marketed as fashion accessories. I've always been of the opinion that they are working tools, but I can understand that it's it can be like a fashion accessory for some. But I'm not really sure about the timeline as to when this accessory styly thing started. But I think that's probably overblown, because if you look at the Filofax range as it is now, there are a lot of each model. Most models are available in black, which is kind of like a business colour, isn't it? So they're not all pretty colours, but what do I like? I mean, I like burgundy and browns and blacks. I have some blues and greens. I even have a bright yellow Finsbury. So I'm okay with these colours. It brightens people's day, and if certainly from a point of identification, if you have a lot of filofaxes, then having them in different colours on the shelf is actually very, very handy. But certainly when I have taken a filofax out on the road, as it were, mainly Filofax Lyndhurst in A4, or at the other end of the scale, a Filofax Mini. They've basically been black. I like the black. Black is my favourite Filofax colour, I guess, if you can call it a colour. Yeah, it's a colour, isn't it? Someone says, Filofax Berwick review, cheap, usable, and great. And I've forgotten the rest of it. They say Berwick and Kingston were my absolute least favourite of the older models, each their own. They're not top ends, they're not even middle of the range, they're bottom end, as we know. I've never had a Kingston, but I have obviously got a Berwick, and one of the things I personally like about the Berwick is the flatability, which is pretty good. It's a cheap model. It's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not luxurious in any way, but I quite like its functionality. So we'll have to differ there. Excuse me. My apologies for yawning. I'm not tired. It's just the medication I'm on. Okay, next video. Vintage filofaxes, examining how rings are attached. And this contributor says, very interesting, a bit of archaeology, experimentation and anthropology is included in your video. Thanks for sharing. Peace and love. I like that. I might give that comment of the week. Yeah, I think I will. Very nice. Yeah, it's I concur with that. Filofax pen hack. Now this is the one where I cut a slot in the bottom of a card slot so the pen continues through, so you can literally use a card slot as a pen holder, possibly for half a dozen pens if you like. Someone says here, I think this is absolutely amazing. It's an absolutely amazing hack, but I myself could never take a knife to my beloved Filofax. I'd have to let someone else to do it, someone I trust. Okay, well, I can relate to that. I mean, if I say I bought a Norfolk right now for more than £100 here in the UK, would I want to do that? No, I don't think so. I'd want to keep it pristine. But if it's an old one, I'd say try it, because so many people agonise, including me, agonise over the pen loop. It won't fit certain pens, and we all know that, don't we? But this is I don't know why I haven't thought about it before. I've never seen anyone do it. Maybe I'm the first person to think of this. Perhaps not, but you never know. But cutting through the bottom of a card slot so you can suddenly means that your Filofax can carry pens of any size, and up to maybe half a dozen of them, is I think that's a good idea. I've got quite a few hacks in the pipeline, but this is one of my favourite ones. So thank you for your comment. Now this comment comes from a channel member, and although I don't normally mention, this is a comment in response to my a members coffee break, and I tend to basically keep discussions deriving from the members coffee break on the members coffee break, but this is an important one, so I thought I'd mention it in the podcast. Hi Neil, what's your eBay shop link, please? Would like to keep track of your eBay for sale items. Thank you. Okay, so if you look at my descriptions to my videos, I tend to have a generic description so that if I need anything changed, then I can change everything. I can do a global edit and then it changes all. I mean, I've got over 300 videos now, so it will change all of them within a matter of a minute or so. Whereas if I had to go through each one laboriously doing the same thing to each description, it would take probably all day. So I tend to have this generic description, and in this generic description, amongst other things, I have a link to my eBay store. I make money from affiliate links. So if you click the eBay affiliate link and you subsequently buy something on eBay, then I get a small kickback or commission. That's how it works. I'm very, very upfront about it. And if you use it, thank you very much. I mean, even if you go onto eBay and look at my Filofax, for instance, and then decide not to, and then move around on eBay and you buy, I don't know, you end up buying a motorbike or a car, then I get a commission off the sale of the motorbike or car, even though that's not my product, that has actually happened. There's a couple of people that click the link regularly and then go and buy something else so that I can get the commission, which I'm very, very grateful for. I don't know who you are because I'm not privy to that level of information, but I'm convinced that there's a couple of people doing that. So if you are one of those people, thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And all that money, it's only a small amount of money, but it goes towards my affordability in terms of buying things to test. So for instance, in the fullness of time, I might end up buying for instance, a Norfolk out of the proceeds of income from the channel, and then I can give you my verdict about the Filofax Norfolk. So I do have a store at the moment. As I record this, I don't have any Filofaxes in there at all. But I will do because I'm having I'm thinning out my collection in advance of moving, and then that what I'm trying to do is thin out the ones I've already reviewed, and then that money in the fullness of time will be going to buy other Filofaxes that I haven't reviewed. So that's how I'm doing it. Okay, this is the first of several comments about Filofax QR codes, as you would expect. So this is, let's see what this lady says. Just had to come back in time and find out what this was about. I did briefly spot this, but I never buy inserts or planners directly from Filofax as they're already more expensive and not as nice as alternatives. They seem to be having a difficult time coming up with ideas that aren't stupid. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. I agree, they are expensive, but I think they're very, very good quality. Certainly the Filofax inserts that are fountain pen friendly really are fountain pen friendly. Not perfect, but pretty good. So I quite like those. And I guess you're paying for the convenience. It is obviously cheaper to make your own or buy some elsewhere, absolutely. But I'll tell you what, isn't it a good job that we have a choice? This is particularly with the personal size and A5 and A4. The whole sizes have been fairly standard for so long that it means that we have that choice. We can go to a third-party supplier or we can go to eBay themselves. I've got a mixture at the moment. My pocket size and personal size diary inserts are made by Filofax, and currently, as I record this in 2024, and my 2025 inserts, both pocket and personal, are from a third-party supplier, simply because in January, when I needed to, because I like to keep 12 months ahead, a rolling 12 months diary, sadly, Filofax have chosen not to issue their diary inserts for 2025 until we're like a third of the way into 2024, which makes it awkward if, for instance, if you are, say, a wedding planner that wants to work sort of 2 or 3 years in advance. Well, that's no good at all, you know. I think for most people it'd be all right. And if you're using diary inserts as some kind of record of past events, then that's okay. But interesting. I don't think, as far as the stupidity of ideas, I think companies shouldn't be afraid of trying out things. And there have been, you know, there are some successes and failures. If you look at Apple, for instance, or Google, big companies with vast resources, they try things like the Apple car. Well, where's that gone? That's completely gone, but billions are spent on it. Google have introduced all sorts of things, as we know, like Google Glasses. You can't get some Google Glasses anymore. It was a project that is now, I would say, the subject of ridicule. If anyone does have a pair of Google Glasses, they're not going to wear it in the street. And it was I wouldn't say it's a stupid idea, but in my opinion, it was a flawed idea. But that is the benefit of hindsight. The crucial thing is, as a society, as in business, we've got to try different things. I mean, as you can see from what you can see on the screen, here am I trying the latest iteration of my podcast, because I am trying to improve. I'm experimenting and sharing those experiments with you, whether it be a particular hack with a Filofax, or a method of delivery for a podcast, or, as you'll find out in the announcements at the end of this podcast, things are always subject to change. So I would disagree with this lady about the difficulty of finding ideas that aren't stupid. I think it is, obviously we are the final arbiter of whether an idea is stupid or not, because we're not forced to buy their Filofax's products. I think they're just trying different things. I personally think that the QR codes is an idea that is flawed, but I may be proved wrong. I personally think that it's just not going to last the test of time. But there we go. I raise a glass or a mug to Filofax for their endeavours. So where are we? Okay. This is interesting. You'll recall my in a video I talked about my first Filofax, which was a W. H. Smith's binder, not a Filofax, and it was so stiff that you had to keep both hands firmly on this recalcitrant binder, because if you let go, it would snap shut like a clamshell. So the lady says, snap shut like a clamshell. That is quite mad, really. Making folders that won't stay open. I agree. I totally agree. How stupid can that be? It would be like designing a car where you had to use your hands to hold the door shut, because if you let go, the door would fly open. It's it is as nonsensical as that. The fundamental requirement of a binder is to open and stay open, because you want to either write things down or you want to read things, refer to things. And if you're fighting with a binder that won't stay open, what is the point? Seriously, what is the point? And I know there are different degrees of flatability, but for me, having good flatability for easy access is essential. If you have a reference folder that you only refer to things at some point, then flatability isn't essential, but it is still desirable. She goes on to say, I saw someone excitedly unbox a clipboard, those ones with the big weird spine that cannot be closed at all. Biggest pile of beep they've ever made. Well, that's a bit strong, but I hear the lady. Am I going to do this one? Yes. What diary inserts do you use? Have you found a fountain pen friendly one? Yes, at least up until now. I didn't try the Filofax inserts for a few years, but certainly for 2024, I'm using Filofax own inserts, a week on 2 pages for both pocket size and personal size. And I use the pocket size actually in a mini sized Filofax, which is a bit incongruous, but it works for me. Okay, so another channel member says the inside full-length pockets seem useful for adding a notebook of the field notes persuasion. I do that with my Winchester. So this is about, excuse me, this is with regards to the Filofax Ranger review. And it has 2 full-length pockets on the inside, another on the outside. I personally prefer gusseted pockets, like, and for those of you that are listening, I'm showing a Filofax Gloucester where you can see the gusseted pockets. It is so patently obvious that a binder needs gusseted pockets that I am really, really surprised that is a bit of a rarity these days. But I can understand it. It costs money. It's all about profit. And if you can save a few pence by not having gussets, then you can make a few pence extra profit. But there are times when having no gussets, so that the slot, the full length pocket is tight. You can't really get anything in there other than a piece of card. That works in the favour of inserting a field notes or a Moleskine Cahier or a Clairefontaine age bag. They're all very, very similar. And it means that you can add more more storage capacity to a Filofax that is already maxed out on the ring capacity. So it works well. Another channel member says, you might be interested to know that a few planner influencer folks I follow have taken a liking to this Filofax Ranger. So we're still talking about the Filofax Ranger again. So many people might be on the lookout after those people featured the Filofax Ranger in their feeds and videos. Many people follow the trends. So I didn't know about this, but obviously I do now because I've been alerted to this fact by this very knowledgeable channel member. So I thank you for that. It's something that I will be on the lookout in the future. But certainly I do, notwithstanding this trend, which I wasn't aware of, I do look a bit like people follow stocks and shares and the money markets, exchange rates, etc. I do look at, because I'm a dyed-in-the-wool antiques dealer, or buyer and seller of vintage items. I've been doing this since I was a teenager. I'm now in my 60s. I've always kept an eye out, particularly on eBay, over the last 20 years, about, not necessarily I'm looking for trends, but I keep an eye on values. And if things are cheap for a certain product and I think it's going to rise, then I will buy, and then sell. One of the things which has traditionally been the case, but maybe not so much these days, perhaps I haven't noticed quite so much of a trend, is if you buy a good time to buy a Filofax is in April or May, when people have given up using them, and then the good time to sell them is in the run up to Christmas. So if you sell them at, say, in November, and there's also January as well, because people are looking for some way of recording their weight or their exercise or their diet. All these New Year's resolutions, they are ideally suited for being recorded and tracked in a Filofax. So there are perhaps some peaks and troughs, natural peaks and troughs in the year. They always say it's the best time to buy a house is in the winter, and the best time to sell a house is in the summer, for the obvious reasons. And certainly that's the same. I mean, I'm into vintage bicycles. Best time to sell a bicycle is in the spring. So there are trends, but I hadn't really realised and appreciated the trends that are created by influencers. So it's interesting. So thank you very much. It's a good lesson to learn, and I have learnt it. Okay, so a regular contributor of mine says the leather looks really wonderful on these, especially the second one you showed, like the green. Okay, like the green dot. Thanks for sharing. Peace and love. So what this contributor is referring to is my video where I described and compared the features of 4 Filofax Sherwoods, made sort of fairly close together, but all different, particularly the leather. And I agree. I agree. They're all different. With regards to liking the green dot, now, if you're just a normal viewer, there's no such thing as normal, but if you are a viewer just dropping by, you will see that my videos have a green dot, apart from the early ones where I haven't quite got around to adding a green dot. But it's part of the traffic light system. If you are a channel member, and I hope that you try it, just try it for a month, see what you think. Green dots symbolise videos that are available to the wider viewing public. Yellow or amber dots are ones that are visible to channel members, but they're going to be available to the wider viewing public in a few days. And red dots are ones that will only ever be available to the wider available to channel members, and will never be shown to the wider viewing public. So it's part of a traffic light system. So there we go. This lady says, do you have any Lockwood planners by Filofax? I'm thinking about getting one in garnet and would love your thoughts. I'm sorry if you've already done a video on it. I had a look though through your archives but didn't see one. Please point me in the right direction if you have one. If you have done one. Well, no, I haven't reviewed the Lockwood yet. It's on my radar though. As soon as I find a Filofax Lockwood at the right price, and I tend to buy Filofaxes that have had a bit of wear, because I find it's interesting to see how the Filofax model is standing up to general wear and tear. But yeah, it's on my waiting list, my acquisitions list. This is another comment about Filofax QR codes. And this lady says, every opportunity on Filofax Facebook page, I complained those awful QR codes. Shame it's not all of them. I use the diary note version, so not helping me. Okay, so I guess the gist of this is the lady's not happy about the QR codes. She describes them as awful. I find them very frustrating. I have no plans to buy QR coded Filofax inserts. I don't want them. So I agree with her. This is an ongoing thing. As we know, Filofax are a company that do the anecdotal evidence is they do listen to what customers are saying. I think that's what's been done here. Both myself and a number of other people have given feedback to the FLB group, who own the Filofax brand, with regards to the frustration of being asked to pay extra to have Filofax inserts that don't have the QR code, by engineering that, by deleting them by having to go through the quote design your own unquote process, which is a premium service that you have to pay for, just so that you can have these QR codes removed. Someone, I can't remember who it was, but they said the cheaper option is to, when you buy a set of Filofax inserts, just buy a bottle of Tipex, so you can erase them that way, which I thought was quite novel. It raised a smile on my face. But what I would say about this is, obviously I've invited people to comment about that, and huge numbers of you have, so thank you very much. I know it's inevitable that people are more likely to leave a comment if they're unhappy about something rather than if they're completely delighted about something. I know that's human nature, but I have yet to receive any comment from someone who likes the QR codes. So we're just gonna have to see about that. But I'm keeping an eye on it. Moleskin hack, a bit extreme, but it works well. So this person says, I don't see the benefit of tearing pages out of a perfectly good notebook. It is an extreme hack, yes, controversial, I know. But I like it. It means basically you have solved, albeit there's a risk of you losing the pages, if you don't have them firmly secured. But do you know what? This is my take. Obviously, I tend to try different things because I'm genuinely interested in not only how they work for me, but also the reaction of other people. This sort of thing provokes discussion, and healthy discussion at that. So I think I think it's a valid hack, particularly because it solves the fundamental problem that bound notebooks have, and that is the fact that you cannot reposition the pages or remove pages or add pages. So I stand by my hack, but clearly it is a very, very controversial subject. And before I made this podcast, I had a quick look, and it is one of my most viewed videos ever in the 3 years I've been making these videos. I've made over 300 videos, and this is in the top 5 most viewed videos. or top 10, something like that. It's a bit difficult to work it out because obviously ones I made 3 years ago are skewed because they've been in the ether for 3 years, so they're bound to pick up. The early ones are bound to pick up more views than ones I've just released a week ago. But certainly in the last 28 days, for instance, this video is the most viewed video in the last 28 days. I think it's in the top 5 in the last 90 days. So the number of people that have given me a thumbs up is a huge number, and there are a significant number of people that are giving me the thumbs down. The last time I checked, there were 7, and I normally get like 1 or 2. I think there's someone following me that he or she always gives me a thumbs down for religiously. As soon as a video comes out, they give me a thumbs down, and I know that it's a troll because with the videos they cannot see, i.e. the ones that are exclusive for channel members, there are no thumbs down at all. So if you're the troll out there and you're watching this, as you may well be, then if you want to mark me down on my exclusive videos for channel members, you're going to have to pay at least for a month's. You're going to have to pay to become a channel member, and then you can start trolling me on my exclusive videos there, if that's what you want to do. I invite you to do it, and I'll know. Another Filofax QR code update. Usually, so this person says, usually by some stock, and I was talking about the fact that the email I got from Filofax says there's going to be inevitably there's going to be a certain number of QR code free videos printed. It's not going to be unlimited. But this lady says, usually by some stock means that there will be very limited amounts. My partner used to work at the factory and they treat their workers terribly. Brackets, at least they did back in 2012. So I'm shocked they bother listening to comments. Well, in fairness to Filofax, they're not here to defend themselves, but I invite them to leave a comment if they so wish. But they're not here to defend themselves. I wasn't there in 2012, so obviously this is I can only go by what the commenter says. But maybe there will be a limited amount of stock. However, what I would say is this. I'm just stating the obvious here, but we will see, and I am keeping an eye on it. If we find a situation where there is stock available for the normal, what is perhaps becoming the normal QR coded inserts, but then where the non-QR coded inserts come up with a label out of stock, we will know that there will be people potentially looking and desiring non-QR coded, bit of a mouthful, isn't it? They who don't want the QR codes, but can't get that because it's out of stock. Who knows? Maybe if that happens, well, we're going to find out, aren't we? This is going to be an interesting conundrum. I'm hoping that this special batch they're making 2 batches of personal size non-QR coded inserts, both week on 2 pages apparently. I'm hoping that might be a regular thing, 26, 27, 28, we'll see. Or they will offer as a matter of course, as standard, a choice. I mean, this is something that I just want to digress about. Okay, so you look at the different inserts, diary inserts they make. So, as an example, they make Monday Start. We're just talking about a week on 2 pages at the moment. They do Monday Start, But they also, and I only found out this recently, they also do a Sunday start. They also do a multi-language version. They also do an English version, and they also do a version that is called the minimalist version. And that is just for a week on 2 pages. Then you've got the 2 days on a page. You've got a week on 1 page. You've got the day to a page. And there may be many variations of those as well. So, would it be such an imposition, especially when it is likely there'll be strong demand for non-QR code inserts? Would it not be sensible to just make sure you make non-QR code? Maybe not all of them, but certainly I believe the most popular one is week on 2 pages, which is why in a Filofax, when you buy one new, it normally has week on 2 pages. Would it not be sensible to make sure that at least week on 2 pages you have code-free inserts? I don't know. I mean, we've talked a lot about this, and we will, I'm sure, continue to talk about it. And if you have any opinion, then let me know, and I'll respond in a podcast if there's enough interest. Okay, so a correspondent says, I can see the problem for Filofax, and we're talking about QR codes still. They say, well, I can see the problem for Filofax. Firstly, their customer base must be aging. Not many people can remember as far back as us to using a Filofax during the yuppie days, so the nostalgia factor will get less and less over time. Now, I am in my 60s. When the yuppie boom was in full swing, I was in my 20s. This gentleman appears to be of a similar age, or maybe even older. But I would say that I would agree with him. I think it's a him. Because when I look at the profile, the age profile of my viewers, and I'm getting thousands of viewers. I think it's been 13,000 different viewers in the last 28 days. So that's a lot, statistically, the age range, I don't know how they work these things, because there are some viewers that don't say how old they are, but clearly enough of them do to provide some sort of evidential database of ages. I have more 55 to 65 year olds who watch this channel than any other age group, so I can understand that, actually. He says, second, I think it's a he. Second, I wonder how many diaries they actually sell each year. I personally can't manage a paper diary. I have so many tasks and reminders that an online tool is the only way to go for me. I am am I in the same boat? I don't know. I mean, I do use, partly because I'm moving, partly because I've got quite a lot of health things going on. Partly because my grandchildren are growing up, teenagers, so there's a lot going on. There's a lot that I need to keep track of. So I do find that I've always used the Apple Reminders app and the Apple Calendar app, simply because I can add something on my laptop or my desktop or one of my phones or an iPad, and it appears on all the other devices. So I really like that. So I tend to have the I have all these diaries that are paper-based, but I create a duplicate online as well. And that's twice as much work, but I like doing that. So, Filofax, dare to try something different, a way to merge the paper and digital world. And it doesn't appeal to their core followers. Well, it certainly doesn't appeal to the people that have talked about this with me. But I don't know. This gentleman says, for me, the way forward for Filofax is to concentrate on note-taking arena. Now, I think this is a really, really interesting point, because there is the Filofax brand has a certain presence, a bit like Hoover in the vacuum cleaning world. When you are doing the hoovering, Hoover has become a generic term. So you might be using a vacuum cleaner made by Dyson, but you are hoovering. Bit like Filofax, it is a generic term. When you look on eBay, people are selling an Amiga Filofax or a W. Smith Filofax or some other brands, a Louis Vuitton Filofax. And so it is so they have that marketing advantage. I personally think that there's a lot to be said for keeping their feet in the paper-based productivity space and not try this complex arrangement with QR codes and diaries, because there is a risk that they alienate their current consumers. But there's also an even bigger risk of alienating even more of their consumers if their app, they decide to drop it or delete it, or it crashes, or something happens, because there'll be resentment, especially people who are, get into the habit of relying on it. As we know with other digital platforms, if it's suddenly dropped, it leaves a nasty taste in the mouth. So, would I do it? Lordy. No, I wouldn't. I would just concentrate on what I know rather than trying to branch out. And I can't actually see how having this, I don't actually see whether this will actually attract customers or boost customers. I don't see it. So there are risks. I can't see any real advantage, and I can see plenty of disadvantages, both now and in the future. But it's an interesting point, well made. Someone says, let's see what next year's inserts look like. Meantime, well done. Nice to know they listen, etc. So the thing is, this isn't just me. I am probably one of many people that have responded with Filofax about this. Because there are user groups out there, there are Facebook pages, there are blogs, and there are commentators, probably on there's probably more than one commentator on this platform, YouTube. So thank you for the kind words, but I think it's a joint effort with probably many, many people, both groups, representatives of groups, or indeed individuals. I'm pretty sure that they're making their feelings known to Filofax, and it does appear that Filofax have made this have taken this on board because of their recent announcement that they intend to create a couple of batches of QR code free inserts. So it looks good. Okay, so a channel member says, I think it's good when a company listens to its customers. Well, I think so too. I hope the community reciprocates their effort and purchases those code-free inserts. Right, well, that is a really, really, really good point. And I would reiterate that. Those of you who are out there, take advantage of Filofax's offer, because at the end of the day, Filofax, like any other business, will be monitoring their sales. And if it turns out that they make a batch and it's not popular and it goes unsold, then Filofax will presumably not make any further batches. So it is up to us. It's incumbent on us to take advantage of Filofax's special arrangements for us. And I'm using the royal we here. So we should make sure we do that. In fact, I might actually even do that. I wasn't planning on doing it because I've already got some inserts for next year anyway. But do you know what? I might just do that. I'll make a mental note. I should really write it down, but I haven't got. Actually, no. I better write it down now because I'll forget. So it's live as we see it on the Filofax, not the Filofax, the Flatability channel. I am writing a note. Buy inserts. Right. QR code free. I don't normally do that in a podcast, but do you know what? All's fairer than love and war. How are we doing for time? We are coming up for just over an hour. So I have got a lot more to talk about, but I'm going to leave it at that. Because I'm just going to have one announcement, which may affect people. So I haven't produced many coffee breaks for the wider viewing public, and I started doing it again recently. But the reason for the coffee breaks was essentially because I'm trying to create a podcast that can be listened to. And there are other things which are very, very visual. So I had this idea of having the visual, the subject, the items of news with visual clues in the coffee break. And the podcast was going to be largely available for people to listen without the frustration of me holding things up on camera as far as possible. And if I do hold something up in the camera, then to at least describe it for those that are listening. I've decided to drop the coffee breaks for the wider viewing public and just instead have videos that just deal with one subject. So instead of maybe a coffee break once a week dealing with half a dozen subjects, I'm going to just have some shorter videos dealing with one subject, and they will pop up at random. They'll still be popping up at 8 p.m. UK time, but you might have 1 or 2 or 3 on any given day. So you'll find quite a few shorter ones, single subject. Although the podcast will still be like this. I'm going to try to make it an hour, a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but about an hour. However, if you become a channel member, you will discover that I do have a coffee break on the for exclusively for channel members, which talks more and more in depth about particularly behind the scenes stuff, sort of backstage pass, if you like. So if you like the sort of visual way these coffee breaks are, then you'll be very, very welcome on the other side, as it were. Try it for a month, see what you think, and if you don't like the what's going on behind the scenes with Flatability, then you can, you don't have to. You're not committed for a year or 6 months. It's just try it for a month. If not, then you're free to go. But at least you can see what's going on here if you're curious. But that's I'm just going to leave it there. Other than saying thank you so much for watching, and I also want to extend a special thank you to a large number of you that have wished me well with my health and my house move. I haven't moved yet, and I'm working on the health thing, but I really appreciate the fact that there's some very, very kind people out there around the world, and it's so nice to in this situation. Sometimes things can be fairly isolating, because I have come from an antiques world where you're moving around all the time, you're meeting and greeting, you're moving around every day, going to different venues, auctions, and it's a fairly close-in community where everybody knows everyone, and you are meeting, maybe you're probably talking to maybe 100 or 200 people a day, whereas here am I in this studio, and sometimes, other than family, I and a few good friends, I don't get out that much. I do a lot online, but I don't get to see so many people face to face. I'm only getting out for a cup of tea or something 3 or 4 times a week, which I suppose is good, but it used to be a lot more than that. So I really appreciate the fact that you're all over the world, and I love learning about your perspective of this very narrow subject, paper-based productivity, and I'm genuinely interested in your comments and your reactions, and I just want to say thank you very much. So with the time coming up to 1 hour and 9 minutes, it's time to go, and I'm probably going to do another podcast sort of in the next few days, because I've got a lot more comments to cover, because I'm getting more comments than ever before. So I might end up making more than one podcast a week at this rate. I don't know, but I love making them. Thank you very much for watching. Until my next one, goodbye.